Hello, mindful friends. Today we're going to be talking about the power of imagination, and I got inspired by a talk by Tara Brach and Joan Halifax on a similar topic. And what they were talking about is how we need to start using our imaginations, our very powerful imaginations, to start thinking about a world we want to live in. Thinking about how all the ways all of our growth, our creativity, our intelligence, our wisdom can be used to generate something beautiful in our world. And what I recognize with many of my clients and myself is that I often use my imagination for the negative. I think probably that's a trend of our world in general. So we like to catastrophize. And especially right now with the direction of how the news is and everything in the media and social media, as a lot of it is pointed towards what disasters could happen in the world or the horrible direction we are pointing in. And these kind of imaginings are creating a lot of fear within us and a lot of despair, loss of hope, a lot of anger. And what I find on an individual level when I'm working with clients is oftentimes stress, anxiety, worry. This is us using our imagination in not so helpful ways. Because most of the time our anxiety is not about what's actually happening in our lives, what's manifesting in this moment. It's a lot of our projections for the future. All these stories about what could happen that are all negative, not so helpful. And so I always tell these clients is that your anxiety or these worried thoughts, they're an indication to me that your imaginative mind, your creative mind, is active and working and efficient, right? It's doing a lot. It's just pointed in the wrong direction. And so we look at it not as a bad thing, but as an indication of a skill we have. We are imaginative people. And this has been what's allowed humans, all throughout history to create, to develop, to grow, to be industrious. It's an amazing skill that we have as long as we don't let it run away towards destructive imagination. So I always say, this is not an indication of what's wrong with you. In fact, let's look at it like a demonstration of what's working well. You have an imagination. You have the ability to picture what could happen in the future, what you would like to see happen. And what happens in anxiety, worry, despair, hopelessness, it just means that imagination has been directed towards not so helpful pictures of the future, stories of the future. And so what we can do with mindfulness is try to redirect our imagining. We don't want to stop it, right? Because it's a powerful tool that humans have for progression. But let's start directing it in a way that helps us, that serves us better. And so to practice this, we can start, always, as always, with our very basic mindfulness practices that settle the mind, open the mind, get us to be able to disconnect from all that busy mind and start observing. So we want to start being aware of where our mind is taking us. And we want to notice, what kind of imaginings am I engaging in? Are they often negative? When I think about the future or what's happening to humanity or to the globe, am I picturing really negative outcomes and scenarios? And this is our awareness. And then we ask ourselves, what would be more helpful? And with the training of mindfulness, right, this, as we all know, if we've practiced, it's not that easy. We have to continue building our awareness, continue building our ability to disconnect from unhelpful thoughts and redirect. So this is what we're doing. And so we notice my imagining tends to feed my worry and anxiety. What would serve me better? So then maybe we design ourselves some daily meditations or practices that involve intentionally imagining scenarios, futures, growth mindsets that serve us well, that give us a hopeful perspective of life, that fill us with motivation, with care for others, with hope. And so maybe in our meditation practice that we develop, we're spending fun, creative time thinking, what would I like the future to look like? Based on what's happening right now in the world, or what my kind of preoccupations are, what I notice or manifesting, what's a positive growth or progression that could come out of this? How could this evolve humanity in a good way, in a really conscious evolution way? And go crazy. Why not? We go crazy enough with the negative, imagining just outlandish. I mean, I have heard some really horrible future prediction stories from media, friends, the news. So go the other way. Let yourself go crazy. How good could it be? How could humanity use its wisdom to take these situations we're in and create something beautiful, something new, something that serves the planet well? And start feeding this goodness more, this good imagination. And what this does is it's not sticking your head in the sand at all, because it's just the same thing as this fabricated, invented scenario that we do with the negative. Let's do a fabricated scenario with the positive. And what it can do is create motivation within you, create hope, and create ways forward for you. So if we think about a future, for example, where we're much more sustainable, we support each other, we have more local economies, this can then develop within your kind of mind states, within your habits, that you start living in ways that feed that. Versus if you are imagining a terrible world where everybody's angry, they're hating each other, there's guns, there's wars. Now you're developing patterns and habits that are creating us and them mentalities, that are creating aggression, that are creating division, that make you want to close off. And so stop feeding those. Spend some time imagining the good and let it open you up, let it open your heart, and let it motivate you to start going out into the world and feeding these possibilities. You help them grow. And when you're imagining these positive scenarios, you do open up a little bit more. You start looking for other people who are also in that same stream of thought. You start connecting with people. You start developing programs that support it. You are now feeding the good versus living in and festering in the fear. So this week, I invite you to examine your thought patterns, your imagination, and looking at how much of what you're imagining is negative and how much is positive and hopeful and bright. And then develop yourself a practice, a daily meditation where you dive deep into positive, hopeful, bright imagining. If you enjoy these talks and would like to join us for a group session or individual coaching, please find us at newleafmindfulness.com. You can also find these teachings and many more in my 2 books, Living from the Heart and Healing Mindfully, that you can buy on any online platform. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. I hope to see you all very soon.